Welcome to the Trainer Talk, where we discuss topics related to health and fitness to help you gain back control of your health and fitness and become the absolute best version of yourself physically and mentally. Enjoy. We are live for another Trainer Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about one kind of leadership, leading by example, and taking ownership of your life. So we'll go ahead and kind of dive in and just talk about how you can lead by example, what kind of traits and habits a leader might have, but also how to take ownership of your life. So if you're somebody that, and we've all been guilty of this, we have circumstances in our life where we put the blame on it. So it's like, I don't have time to work out. I don't have the energy to work out. I don't have the money to invest into a trainer or a coaching program or a nutrition plan, whatever it is. So we always throw the blame on different things in our life and circumstances. We want to try to take that ownership back. Bethany, you just had a great example. It's like, for people that maybe they don't have enough to invest into their health right now, it's like there are so many things that they could do, for free online. It's just they don't make that choice. Mm-hmm. So instead of taking ownership of, okay, what can I do right now? What can I afford to do? They're just saying, oh, I'm just not going to do it because I can't buy this specific thing that I want to do, or whatever it is. If they don't have time to go to the gym for an hour, 5 days a week, they just say, oh, I can't go to the gym, instead of like, okay, what can I do with the time I do have? Mm-hmm. Oh, I can go for a walk every morning before work for 10 or 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I can do some body weight stuff at home. So that's what we want to try to get across to people and to help them lead by example. For their family and kids, things like that is also really important too, I think. So
yeah, it's kind of like an overarching thing with the taking ownership. So maybe you feel like you don't have, maybe you don't have a family and you just kind of take care of yourself, like taking ownership of all of your actions. All of your past actions have led you to where you are today. Whether you're happy with where you're at, whether you're not happy with where you're at, where you would rather be somewhere else, taking ownership of every past choice and decision you've made because you made them and that's gotten you here. And you can put it on circumstances of like, oh, I was busy with work or I was sick or everything, and it's like, all right, cool, but like you need to take ownership in this moment of like, I still made the decisions that led me to where I am today, because then you take the power back. Every time you point the finger, you're putting the power there. So as far as, for an example, just personal, if I would blame, I don't eat healthy because my roommate brings in candy or something like that, and then I eat it. And it's like, well, then you could take ownership and you can actually have a conversation with them and be like, hey, maybe let's not put candy out in a candy jar, even though it's holidays. Like, let's not put candy out there because I'm going to be eating it if it's there, and that doesn't support my goals. So you can just have the conversation with them instead of, being frustrated and blaming that or the circumstance. Or for leading by example, we get a lot of people that come in and, either they want to make all these changes, but their family doesn't have a very healthy lifestyle. Like, their kids like Dino Nuggets and Fruit Loops and fruit by the roll-ups and all those kinds of things. And, it's harder for them to make those changes because then they have to change their family's dynamic as well. And so it's hard enough to change yourself, but then also leading by example and having your kids take after it, which eventually most people that we have that are parents, their spouses or significant others or kids end up taking after them a little bit, whether it's for working out or for eating healthier. They do start to follow that lead of the parent that is trying to make healthier choices. Mm-hmm. So it can kind of tie into anybody.
It takes time, but we've seen it time and time again with so many of the parents that we have coming into the gym. After a matter of, it might be a few weeks, might be a few months, might take a year, but eventually, if you're, a lot of the moms start, and then all of a sudden the husbands kind of want to get into it, the kids get into it, just because they kind of want to copy whatever you're doing, right? And one of my least favorite things I ever hear is like, the parents that say, oh, I want to eat healthy, but my kids don't, so I can't. Like, you're basically blaming your child for the reason why you are unhealthy, which you're pointing that blame finger, and it's like, you're the one doing the grocery shopping. You know, you can make the choices. Yes, they're going to fuss and throw a fit for a little while, but they're not going to starve themselves. They can't do it. It's impossible. They're going to eat whatever you put in front of them eventually. So it's just take that ownership and be like, okay, I need to make these changes, explain it to them, and deal with kind of that transition period that might be kind of hard, but it's going to benefit in the long run, you know? So.
Yeah, Corey and I were just having that conversation last night. Like, I told him that's like a promise I've made to Wyatt's only 9 months old, but he's eating food now. And I was saying how that's a promise I've made to myself, is like, we're not having kid food and adult food. Like, we are all going to eat the same thing. And if he doesn't want to eat it, then he's not going to eat. And like you said, eventually he's going to be hungry and he's going to eat. And starting that at a young age, if you can, I think is super important, because I am the mom. I do the grocery shopping. I cook the food. And so I am leading by example in that, and that he's going to eat what I give him. So we were just talking about
I've seen that a lot, where, like, you know, the little kids, like, when they start eating foods, they actually like it, like blueberries, broccoli, vegetables. Like, even my nieces and nephews, like, they enjoyed those foods when they were really little. But then you get exposed to, you know, going out to different places, family occasions and gatherings. They get exposed to sugars and treats and cake and ice cream and all that stuff. All of a sudden, next thing you know, they don't want the blueberries and broccoli anymore. All they want is the sugar-filled stuff. And so instead of fighting it, you just end up giving it to them, and you just kind of give away your power, basically. At that point.
I mean, at that point, the kids are kind of controlling their own diet.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, you kind of know what's best for the kids too, and you know what's best for yourself. And so it's kind of learning, taking ownership and leading, just taking leadership over your own life instead of just like following whatever your poor habits are. That's another, like, self-leadership of, okay, like, what direction is my life going in? And, like, leaders direct people, and they unite people into a common objective or a common goal, whether it's one person or whether it's 10 people. It's uniting them and going towards a common direction and goal. And so whether it's just you personally, you got to look at the direction your life's heading in, and then you can, you know, take ownership and change the direction, because you're the leader of your own life.
100%.
I wrote down, like, when I think about, like, a trait for somebody who's a leader, the first thing that popped in my head was positivity, because I think that leaders, like, no matter what happens to them, because sometimes things do come at us in life that is a little bit outside of our control and that we didn't really ask for, we didn't expect to happen, and it can kind of catch us off guards. But I think that leaders, they find the positive in kind of whatever situation is thrown at them or circumstances thrown at them. So that's kind of like the trait that that's something that I always try to possess, is to, no matter, and there's times where I get upset and frustrated and I have those moments, but then I always try to find a silver lining to whatever is happening in my life. Like, either remembering that this is just a season and it's going to pass, or remembering that there's people who are way off worse than me out there in the world, and my situation is so small compared to them, or just kind of laughing about it and shaking it off and learning from whatever happened and just kind of moving on. So just always being positive no matter what happens.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of two things that I really like and have applied in my life is, like, you know, every failure is just a lesson. So you've got to find a lesson that you can, you know, from that failure, and take something away from it for the future. And every obstacle is an opportunity. So if you're running into obstacles, if you failed at something, you got to learn from it and then look for the opportunity to grow and expand from that. So in my mind, those are two things that a leader would do: is how can we grow and learn and do better the next time from this failure or obstacle that we're running into. For a lot of people, that is the time, the energy, the money, the health, the nutrition, all that kind of stuff. Those are obstacles. And maybe you've tried something and failed. It doesn't mean you should give up. You just need to, okay, what didn't work from this? Let's not do that. But what did work? Let's try to focus on that, and maybe just try different iterations until you can get it down. But
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of leaders within this gym too, like even in classes and even each other working out, lifting each other up. Like we always have those people in the classes that are staying after and working on their skills, or willing to learn new things, asking questions, leading by example in class, working their butt off, and instead of collapsing to the floor after, maybe they're yelling at the other classmates, let's go, you got it. You know what I mean? There's those clear leaders that we have in this class, and those are all traits that they've learned themselves, and maybe they've been brought up that way, and it's been a part of their family, and that's just how it is, and they've just kind of applied that to every aspect of their life, and it's pretty clear. You can see it within them.
And it all came from experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe that same person that's finished the workout cheering on the next person that's still not done yet, hey, let's go. That might have been the person that when they started, they were the ones suffering on the floor, and they had somebody cheering them on, and they adopted that same trait. So it's like you're not just born a leader or not a leader. It's something that is learned through your habits, experiences. You've got to adopt the traits to become that type of person.
And I think surrounding yourself with leaders too
100%,
is, and being a part of a culture like that. Even with growing up, my family, my dad was in the military for 21 years. Like, he's a leader. Being on a football team, baseball team, basketball team, coaches, and even though some of the players are just natural leaders, and they unite each other, like you said, as a team, and you want to follow them because they have that clear leadership, and it's just beaming out of them. Like, I want to follow this guy and work out with him, or hang out with him and adopt his habits.
And it can kind of go the other way too with that. So like sometimes you'll see, like say the best athlete on a team is the one that's like, oh, I don't need to do this because I'm already the best, But then you've got somebody else that's working extremely hard, battery charger, includes everybody, pumps everybody up. That's the person I want to spend time with, not necessarily the person that's the best, right? And you've probably seen that, like some of the athletes that you're like, oh, he's really, really good and naturally gifted, highly skilled, but he doesn't have the traits of a leader because he's kind of lets his ego get in the way a little bit. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I have for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think every team has got it, one of those guys. But it's kind of the leader's job to fill that role. And I think the more people you have trying to be a part of that, trying to be a leader, like you don't just need to have one leader. It's not one leader in the class. Everybody can have those same traits and those same practices of leading by example and taking ownership of your mistakes and your decisions and your actions. You don't need to rely on one person to be that leader. It can be you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and I think even with the coaching roles, like, so all of us are leaders. Like, we lead classes. We have everybody band together and do a common, we lead them through workouts, have a common goal, that sort of thing. Or like through a nutrition challenge, like all at the same time, like leading someone through a nutrition program, like you're being a leader for somebody else, like guiding them on the way. And it's funny to see clients turn into like little mini leaders or like co-leaders.
Who I think of as Steve right away.
Yes. And so I think it's something that's really cool because, if you would have talked to Steve when he was first come here, he didn't have knowledge or experience in working out. And so he wouldn't have been a natural born leader. Like, they're not just like born, like he didn't just come in being like, oh yeah, like this is how we do everything and whatever. But after the time and experience that, it takes to, one, you have to like have that drive. I think that's a big thing. Like, the leaders are driven, they're positive or like optimistic. They're uplifting other people, but then they're driven themselves. Like, they're coming in and doing the extra work, like practicing extra double unders after class because they really want to get that. And then it shows. They're like, wow, like other class members will see them and be like, wow, like or like Bill, he's really gotten good on double unders. And so like leading by example for other people maybe in his life that are like, oh wow, like, you know, he went from his story, you know, went from a heart attack to now he's super fit and doing CrossFit quarterfinals competition and everything cool like that. It's, you know, it's not always the like loudest person or the person that tries to like guide everybody in a certain direction. Like that's, people think that a leader is someone who like tells other people what to do. It's like
You show people what
Yeah.
you can do.
you show people what to do, and then you like, if you can inspire them to take that action, then that's like what a real leader is.
100%. And the thing is like, pretty much everybody out there, you've got people that know you and look up to you, and you can be a leader in a good way or actually in a bad way. So like if you have a bunch of bad habits, there's people that are still going to look at you, and maybe if they hang out with you enough, they're going to have the same habits. Kind of like the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Like, you know, you might have people that are influenced by your own actions, and we see it a lot with like teenagers. It's like if you hang out with the wrong crowd, you're going to end up becoming just like them. So it's like, it's up to you to kind of decide what kind of leader you want to be and what kind of example you want to set. And I think for parents, it's extremely important to, you know, if you want your family to move in a certain direction and be healthy or fit or whatever, you want to do best by your kids, that sort of thing. Like it's non-negotiable. You're going to work out. You're going to eat healthy. You're going to show him, even from a 9 months old or from zero, you know, from the moment he was born, this is the way you're going to live your life. And that's the example you're going to set. So you've made that choice. You know what I mean? But because unfortunately, people I think kids get to an age where they say, you know, I really look up to my parents and I want to follow their footsteps, or I don't want to end up like my parents. I need to go the opposite direction. So either way, you're leading them in some sort of direction. It's either you're being followed or you're being the opposite. And unfortunately, we hear a lot of the opposite. When we sit down back there with people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they're like, oh, yep, my parents, you know, they've got heart disease or diabetes or they're overweight. I don't want to end up like that. Right. We hear that all the time. Yeah. Because they just didn't instill those traits and habits, and they didn't set the example of, you know, the lifestyle that you want to live. But,
I guess we can kind of go over like what people can do to develop these leadership traits like in themselves, or like what kind of traits, like the positivity, the drive, any other habits that like you would think of like a leader having.
Being like coachable, I guess, because I mean you kind of learn how to be a leader from watching other leaders, kind of like we already said. So like, you know, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to go to somebody who is like above you and doing what you want to do, and watching them and learning from them. And I think I remember being a person, because I am very introverted. Unless I'm with people I know well and I'm comfortable with, I'm more shy, I guess you could say. I'm not very outspoken. I just kind of like to sit back and listen to people. And so before like working here, thinking about teaching a class for me and being a leader and leading a class was very intimidating. And but you know, I watched Taylor do it and I watched Bethany do it and kind of learned like how you guys led the classes, and it took time for me to like gain courage and I don't know, just confidence, I guess, to be able to do that. But that wasn't something I was naturally like comfortable with doing at all.
You gained the confidence from doing. So a lot of people don't do something because they're not confident in it or they're not comfortable with it. Yeah. But you don't gain confidence comes from something that you're experienced with and you know. Yeah. In order to get that to that point, you've got to do and learn. Yeah, you gotta. You know what I mean? The more
do the uncomfortable.
Yeah, the more experience you have with something, the more confident you are.
That confidence isn't just going to magically show up.
Yeah. I mean, probably you coming in, I was maybe here for like a year. Yeah. So like you were learning from me, but like only probably a year prior, like when I started shadowing you, I wasn't very outspoken or anything because I didn't know anybody here.
But you would never know that now.
You would think like, oh yeah, this girl's lived her whole life. She knows everybody. Like, you know, she's been like this forever. And it's like, no, I wasn't like super outspoken or anything. And it's just like, okay, like I started getting to know people and I built the confidence of like, okay, like it's fine to talk to new people. Like, it's just something that you do build over time, and that the ability to like lead other people in a class or, you know, just in general, or like lead other team members and be like, hey, this is how we do this. And like, you know, I could teach Lauren how we do sales or like how we do phone calls or, you know, different things like that. And it's just, it does take that time and you're not going to be good at first. You're not going to be confident in it. And it's just, you build that confidence and courage by doing it kind of in spite of the fears and the insecurities. But, you know, once you kind of do it a few times, you kind of start building like, okay, like I guess I'm kind of getting into a rhythm with it. And then you just build that drive over time for, you know, leading other people. You start to get that, you get a sense of fulfillment from leading other people. And so that's what kind of like keeps you going, like gives you that drive to want to help others learn from where you were.
Right.
Good leaders always understand that there's something to learn, even from people that maybe aren't even at their position. So something that I learned from a client of mine was that he said, I'm just smart enough to know that I don't know anything.
Yep.
In other words, like there's always stuff that you could still learn, and you need to be optimistic and open to learning and growing. In other words, you need to be in a growth mindset. Something that I adopted, and I don't know where I got it from, but I always thought, you know, I've never been the type of person that said, I can't do this because. It's like, how can I figure this out? How can I get that? And it came from like, you know, things that I wanted when I was younger. It's like, I really want that. And instead of saying I can't have that, I said, what do I need to do to be able to get that? How can I get it? And a lot of that was with this gym in general. Like, I want to be a gym owner. Instead of saying I can't do it, I'm only 22, 23 years old. How can I make that happen? Exactly. How can I make a gym successful in Sandusky? Instead of, I could have said it can't be done because it hadn't been done successfully in the past. Well, they all ended up shutting down, but no, I was like, I'm just going to figure out how it can be done. So
finding solutions, being solution oriented or problem solving oriented rather than like
excuses.
Then like, okay, it's because of this, or like, oh, it's too late for me. I'm too old, or I'm, you know, there's so many cases of people that defy the odds, or like any reasons that we have for not doing something. It doesn't even have to be health and fitness related. We could say, oh, I'll never be able to make the team for basketball because I'm not tall enough or something. And it's like, there was like 5'9", an NBA player. And I'm like,
I think the shortest was probably Spud Webb. I think he's like 5'5".
Yeah, Spud Webb, 5'5". And it's like, okay, you can't just, you know, if you can find a way, like there's always a way that you can make those things happen. It's just taking that ownership and taking like, what can I do? How can I do this? And just figuring it out, because there's ways to do it. You know, if money is an obstacle for you, we help people overcome these obstacles all the time. And like our consultations of like, oh, okay, you don't have the money for a program. It's like, all right, let's find something that you're able to do to learn as much as you can. Or it's like, all right, all you can afford is a base membership. Here, watch our YouTube video, watch these trainer talks. Like this is free coaching, free information. Here's some other good sources that you can go on to, like free apps you can download there's millions of workouts and, you know, diet resources that are free out there. And, you know, there's all those things that can help people. And it's just taking the time at that point to do it, which even if time is a problem, it's like, okay, let's look at your phone. Let's see how you're spending your time on your phone. Oh, okay, I've spent an hour on Instagram. Let's probably do, you know, let's do like maybe half of that time, and then the other time you can spend exercising, or you can, you know, find it somewhere, find the way, you know, the obstacle is the way, finding a way through that.
Yeah. Something else that really drove me, just speaking from my own personal experience with it, is like, you know, I didn't want to be the personal trainer that couldn't do everything I had my clients doing. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable telling somebody what to do to get in shape if I was not in shape. You know what I mean? So it's like, I had to set the example and be the lead by example by becoming the best version of myself in order to help the other people become the best versions of themselves. Like, I got to a point where when I was just doing like the bodybuilding and stuff like that, I was putting all my clients through these circuits and doing cardio. I was like, I don't even know if I could do these.
Mhm.
So that's what led me to CrossFit. It's like, I shouldn't even be having them do this if I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
so I made myself, I was like, okay, I need to prove what I'm capable of
Mhm.
in order to lead and help people do the same thing. So
Mhm.
you really got to start from within and improve yourself, and then you can lead by example and be a leader that way.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
Everything?
I think so.
Anything else to add?
what else do you edge? And any others?
Not on the top of my
There's
head.
something else that I had in my head, but I kind of lost it. But yeah,
No, it's pretty good overall. Just how you take ownership of your own life, how you can lead your family, other people around you, coworkers, maybe friends, family members, and help them live a happier, healthier lifestyle too.
yeah, be the battery charger for everybody else.
Mhm.
We all know that person that walks into the room and you automatically kind of
Mhm.
Pick up. You're excited to see them.
they charge your battery, and then we also all know that person where as soon as you see them, you're like, oh shoot, here comes so and so or whatever, because they're always negative. They're always the type of person that's like, oh, how's it going? Oh, could be better. You know what I mean? We all know that type of person. It's like, try to look for the positives, like you said. Like, here's another thing I was going to say is like remove the word can't from your vocabulary. If you do say the word can't, put yet at the end of it. Like, whatever you say you can't do, just put yet. I can't do it yet. Because what you tell yourself really does become your reality. Like it all starts with your mindset. If you're constantly waking up every day and saying, I'm this, I am that, I can't do this, I can't do that because of this, this, and this, like, oh, that's going to be a reality, unfortunately. So change your mindset, change the way you think, start taking actions, start looking up people that you aspire to be like and surround yourself with those types of people. That's why I think our community is so awesome, is everybody's kind of adopted that same similar mindset. We're all positive thinkers. We help each other. You become that person that after a while you're cheering on the new person, helping them succeed, because somebody helped you succeed, that sort of thing. So start from within. If you want to change anything in your life, you've got to take ownership, and then you've got to start adopting the habits and creating those traits within yourself that's gonna become a leader. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully you got some value from it. If you need help at all, obviously reach out. We're always here to sit down and have a discussion. That's another thing is, a lot of people ask, like, what's the cost of this? And we're never going to tell you, because everybody's different. Everybody's starting from a different position. Like you said, we have different solutions for different problems, and everybody's got a different problem. That's why if somebody asks me, hey, how much is your summer shred program? I'm going to say, we go over all the details, including the cost, in the consultation. I want to sit down with you, get to know you, figure out what your problem is, if we can solve that problem, and if it's a good fit before I go over any cost, because you might not need that program. You might need something different. So that's just something that we do kind of as leaders, is think of it like doctors. You don't just text your doctor and be like, hey, I got this problem. How much does it cost to fix it? We don't know. We've got to do an analysis. We got to figure out all the things you've tried, what you're experiencing, all that sort of stuff before they prescribe a solution. And that's kind of what we do. So until next time, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again for tuning in to the Trainer Talk. If you are ready to gain back control of your health and fitness, we would love to sit down and chat with you to see if we can put together a plan for you. All you have to do is head to taylorhutchinsonfitness.net and book a free consult. Again, make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video, and hopefully we'll see you soon.